Hi YouTubers, it's your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. Before we start, I want to say Happy New Year to all my subscribers and to any viewers watching this video. Let's make 2023 even more successful than the last. Let's keep the channel growing, share your thoughts, comments about all the things that I review. So without further ado, let's start off with what we're reviewing. We're going to be reviewing the new Korean drama series that got released on Netflix recently called The Glory. It's starring Song Hye-kyo. You may remember her from The Descendants of the Sun and all that drama that went along with it. She stars as the title character of Moon Dong-eun. The story is essentially the worst case of school bullying that you can think of. When I saw episode 1, we had like a flash forward present day in which we see Moon Dong-eun in an apartment with photos everywhere attached to the wall, and we can see a really bad scarring all over her body, in which another character that comes in of Park Hyo-jin, another female character, she walks in and she tells Moon Dong-eun, "You think you can kill me?" In which Moon Dong-eun goes and tackles her and gives her a gash on the cheek and tells her, "Well, do you want me to tell you the journey of how I got here?" And then we got in episode 1 to 3, we get the progression of Moon Dong-eun's story, in which we see her that she's a high school student in the flashbacks, and she's poor. She has her mom is all over the place. You don't really see her. We get understanding that her mom's illiterate, working on the side, leaving her daughter to live in a crappy one-room motel kind of apartment place that she has nothing. And Moon Dong-eun, she gets targeted by Park Hyo-jin as a high school student. Now, the funny thing is, the younger version of Park Hyo-jin, if you remember the other series, Revenge of Others, so we can see these actors. I guess maybe if I was the actress, I would like put the Revenge of Others first on the, for everybody to see, and then see me in the flashbacks as the worst school bully known to date. So we can see kind of the irony there. So throughout episode 1, we see that Park Hyo-jin and her other cronies, this other guy that's, I guess, rich, but at the same time we find out that the other boy at the time has color blindness. And then we have another guy that was in the group, and then we have 2 more females within this group of bullying. We see in episode 1, they horrifically attack Moon Dong-eun and they burn her body, in which Park Hyo-jin, the younger version, takes all this sick malice and satisfaction in burning her with a curling iron. And Moon Dong-eun tries to get help from the police, from the high school principal, but they're all corrupt because Park Hyo-jin's mother has a relationship with a police officer at the time. So no matter how much Moon Dong-eun tries to get help from others, since it's, all these high school bullies, as we can typically see, they have an advantage in this case of parental, influence. So Park Hyo-jin, she's kind of an interesting character. We see that her mother is directly responsible for creating a monster, in which we see some scenes that the mom takes her to a shaman place, kind of, puts down her own daughter. So we can see the pathology there of the typical school bully. They bully others because they get bullied by their parents, that type of thing. But the level of violence that the young Moon Dong-eun experiences is horrific, and it's very upsetting, some of the scenes. So Moon Dong-eun essentially tries to tell people, but they don't listen. And there's a scene in episode 1 in which she goes to the school nurse to ask for some antiseptic solution. But the school nurse sees, Moon Dong-eun's scars and asks her, or injuries, the burns, and asks her who done it. And then we get the most eerie scene in which Moon Dong-eun hears the ringtone of main bully of Park Hyo-jin. And then Park Hyo-jin was in one of the hospital beds, the curtains closed, and she opens up the curtain, smiling at the nurse and at Moon Dong-eun. And this is the level of corruption in which I was astounded. She goes and tells the school nurse, "It was me. I was the one that injured Moon Dong-eun, and I did all those other times." And you're thinking, Jesus, that level of corruption is unstoppable. So ultimately, Moon Dong-eun, she has to drop out. She has to drop out no matter what, but her final attempt to try to fight against the bullies, on the form to drop out, she lists the reason why, due to school violence, and she names all the people that are guilty of this. But however, the homeroom teacher has the stones to phone the victim and tell her that if you don't go and retract this, gonna be serious repercussions, you know, like change it to something different. And Moon Do-geun goes back to the teacher's office and tells her homeroom teacher, this is the, you know, I'm not going to change anything. This is the reason why for the school violence. And then the teacher tries to play out, saying, well, between friends, you know, they slap each other. And then she says, why should it be okay that friends slap each other? And then she talks about the teacher's son, and then she says, how would you feel if your son got slapped? And then the most shocking scene ever, the teacher stands up, the male teacher takes off his watch and starts to basically assault Moon Do-geun with first the folder and then slaps. And then the weirdest thing ever, the teachers all around the office, they do nothing. You think to yourself, are they that fearful of their jobs in which they can't save the students? So why be a teacher then if they're only there for the recognition and all of that? Because we see that the homeroom teacher beforehand was told by other teachers that some other guy that your performance will really be affected since Moon Do-geun's, you know, reason for leaving. And on that point, she goes and leaves. And then for episode 1 to 3, we see that Moon Do-geun has to work part-time jobs, working in a kimbap shop, working in the sauna place, and then ultimately spends the majority of her early 20s working in a clothes factory, like dyeing clothes and so on. But at the same time, she goes and starts studying online to get her online high school diploma, but not before returning back to the high school gym in which she confronts Park Yoo-jin, the main conspirator. Like, when you see some of these scenes, you just like thinking, oh my god, you just want to like jump in there, you want to shout, you want to, you know, say that this injustice is going on. So she goes to all of them and then she says, Park Yoo-jin, she questions what is everybody's dreams, and she asks Park Yoo-jin, what is your dream? And she says, I don't need any dream. And then I can't remember the dialogue word by word, so I'm paraphrasing that Park Yoo-jin's dream is to marry a rich guy, have a child. And then the young Moon Do-geun smiles at Park Yoo-jin, and you know this smile in which it's the verge of madness. Moon Do-geun says, my dream is you, and I hope one day we'll meet again. And then she leaves, and that smile unnerves Park Yoo-jin, the younger version, and she goes off. So from episode 2 to 3, we get a time lapse that Moon Do-geun is already older, so we see the adult character portraying Moon Do-geun of Hye-kyo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this actress's name right, in which she's already there older working in the factory, she's already got into college, and she's going to leave the factory. Of course, there's some other side characters when Moon Do-geun, the adult version, it gets friendly with another worker there, so they strike up a mini like friendship. And then during episode 2 and 3, Moon Do-geun starts studying to be a teacher, and then one day Moon Do-geun collapses and she ends up in the emergency room, and then we get introduced to another second character of Do-hyun. You may remember this actor from Sweet Home. He plays Ji-yeon, in which he's a plastic surgeon, but then at the time still an intern. His father, we find out later on in the other episodes, his father was the director of the hospital, but he got murdered by a patient, and then his mom, also a doctor, took over the position. So we can kind of see that Ji-yeon, he's struggling with his father's murder, and he also has revenge in his heart. So they kind of like, you know, meet up, and then there's not so much things going on, but Moon Do-geun is there in her mission to trying to find out how she can get into Park Yoo-jin's life. So we meet Park Yoo-jin already older. So the actress playing the older version of Park Yoo-jin is Ji-yeon. I'm unfamiliar with the actress, but let me tell you, this actress is terrifying as now the villain. She is the ultimate villain. She has to have everything perfect. She got married to a CEO of a construction company, and she has a little girl that's, well, for all purposes, she is cute as a button. So I'm going to leave it off at this point because I will continue to do the second part of the series. But we get to the point in which the adult Moon Do-geun, she's there rifling through the trash of Park Yoo-jin's house, and she's getting information. She's like piecing together the paper shreds from the paper cutter. Housekeeper of Park Yoo-jin's house comes out, and she has a bag of her own rubbish in which Moon Dong-eun was looking for, and she says, I know you've been looking in the rubbish of this person's house, the one I'm looking after for over a year. And Moon Dong-eun is left stunned. She's like, okay. And then she's trying to go negotiate and says, I'll give you all the money that you want, just allow me to do what I need to do. And then the housekeeper goes and says, you can carry on doing what you want. I can see how determined you are because you've been doing this for over a year. I'll allow you to keep on getting what you need, but first, I need you to do something for me. And Moon Dong-eun was like, okay, what? And then she says, I want you to murder my husband. And she's left stunned around of episode 3. So from episode 4 to 5, Moon Dong-eun goes and sees the housekeeper's living situation, and it's not good. The housekeeper has a daughter, and the husband is extremely abusive. We get a scene of domestic violence, which is hard to watch. And ultimately, Moon Dong-eun goes and says, okay, I'll do what you asked me to do, but I'm going to need you to do some certain things. I'll cover all your expenses, but she goes and asks the housekeeper to go and surveillance the other people of the group that attacked her at high school. So we see all the other individuals that we saw as teenagers, now adults. One of them that's not so well off as the rest became an air stewardess and a flight attendant. And while the other one is a painter, but her father is like a priest. But then again, she's getting, illicit substances from the other guy that's in the group. So all of them are corrupt as heck. So from episode 4 to 5, Moon Dong-eun goes and uses the housekeeper to get the information. But on top of that, with the information that Moon Dong-eun got of piecing together the shreds of information from the paper cutter, she manages to blackmail the principal of the school in which Park Eugene-'s daughter is attending, a private school. She goes and blackmails the principal and says, I won't say this information, but make me the teacher of this school of this certain year. And the principal has no way to say no because she has some incriminating evidence against him. So, before she attends the school, Park Eugene, who's already an adult, gets a kind of like alumni award for all past students in that particular school. So she goes there and everybody else. And Moon Dong-eun, like when she came in, we knew this is the start of her revenge. So while Park Eugene is getting the award, Moon Dong-eun is there and she starts clapping, going, well done, like this. And we see Park Eugene is freaked out. She's trying to see who the hell is this person. So I'm going to leave it off here because I'll do the second part of what happens from episode 5 to 8 because I'm going to be rewatching some scenes to get more to understand deeply the plot and to explain to you. This series is worth watching. It tackles the hard-hitting issues of sometimes being a bystander, witnessing a crime is sometimes more damaging than being the perpetrator. So after the Park Eugene gets her award, there's all, the old people in that group that went and the bullies from that group. And Moon Dong-eun basically goes and confronts all of them and says, I'm so happy to see all of you here, sarcastically, and I'm so glad to see none of you have changed. But then again, Park Eugene, oh my god, she went, as the head, bitch, she went crazy, kind of, and it took one of the other guys to hold her back, the one with the color blindness. And then in that moment, the realization that Moon Dong-eun, she tells them, I am here because of you, Park Eugene. You are my dream and here I am. They have no idea what any of this means, so they let her go. And then we find out that Moon Dong-eun is the teacher of Park Eugene's little daughter, her daughter. I'm going to leave it off then, because that moment is when Moon Dong-eun will use this child as a kind of psychological ransom. I know she won't hurt the child, but Moon Dong-eun's ultimate aim is to get her revenge, isolate Park Eugene, and use everything that's precious to her against her. So this will be the end of part 1 of this review of the 8-part series. First, I'll do part 2 of the first part, and I'll repeat again, part 2 will come out of the last 8 episodes in March. But let me say, this series is good. This series makes you question a lot of things. In this series, you kind of agree and say, she'll have her revenge. If you made it to the end, a big thank you. And to any new viewers, I really appreciate it. You can hit the subscribe button, leave your comments down below, and let me know if you've seen the series. And as I leave you always, bye.